Hello and welcome to another episode of the Force Diet Podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you may be listening, we are honored that you joined us. We have a jam-packed episode for you tonight. We've got 5 new episodes of Andor to discuss. From the Eye of Aldhani to dinner parties on Coruscant and everything in between, there's a lot to talk about. We're over halfway through the first season, and we will discuss kind of where we think it ranks in comparison to all of our other live-action Star Wars stuff. In addition to that, we have Tales of the Jedi that just dropped on Wednesday, so we'll give our first thoughts on that. And we have a new segment for the show, which we hope you'll enjoy. So sit back and relax. This is where the fun begins.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
Why is the Force connecting us?
I am a Jedi. Always do. There are.
We're a dyad in the Force.
And welcome to episode 36, Force Dyad Podcast. Jedi John here, as always, joined by Obi Sean. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. How are you?
Were you waiting for more there?
I wasn't sure if you were going to give me more accolades or not.
I didn't know how many you needed.
That's fine.
Obi Sean,
0 is fine.
builder of Lego.
That's right. So it's been a while since we've talked on recording.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Been a lot going on.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of personal stuff. A lot of stuff. Sorry, guys. Life gets in the way sometimes, and unfortunately, this is not our full-time job yet.
I would like that very much. I don't know how you
just-
monetize the podcast, but if anybody has any tips.
Yeah, just a
Let
few
us
years
know.
away, right? Just a few years away. We got some time. But yeah, looking really forward to discussing stuff tonight. Tons of Andor stuff to talk about. And then just this week, it's been only been 2 days so far, but Tales of the Jedi released on Wednesday, and I'm just going to read it upside down. Upside down, your note says Mom. I'm
does.
thinking it's wow.
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 We both really enjoyed it. Sounds like I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Before we get going, is there anything that we want to talk about outside of Star Wars stuff? I've got a lot of stuff that has happened, but I don't want to talk about fantasy football because it's
Right.
going poorly.
Yeah, I'd say the same about mine. I'm probably the worst 5-2 team you'll ever see in fantasy sports. Well, we've got Halloween Monday. We both have families that contain young children.
Yes.
Family costumes?
Yeah, family costume. We got a couple more years of control.
Yeah?
Probably one.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, Mom decided on she would go as Cruella. I would be Horace. And, we have a little Dalmatian puppy that we take around with us.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty fun. He's a cute Dalmatian puppy.
Well, and the big news this week, which we can talk about now because it's on social media, is you have a new youngling, a new Jedi on the way.
Yeah, there's a new one on the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very exciting stuff. Yeah, can't wait. I think we're going to get the gender on Sunday.
Oh, is it? That soon?
Yeah. Well, we sent it out for testing, so we're
Send
gonna
it out
have-
for testing.
We're going to have it.
Send it to the lab.
Send the whole thing to the lab.
What's the due date? Projected due date?
The middle of May sometime.
Okay. Gotcha.
Pretty excited.
So you got some time to plan.
I got lots of time.
Awesome.
And I got to win over this, my wife and the girl names. I'm still working on it. I don't know if I'm going to get Leia, but I'll keep trying. Dang it, I keep trying.
Do you have carryovers from the first time that you went through the naming process?
No.
No? You're
No.
starting over fresh?
Yeah.
Fresh start over.
Yeah, Luke and Leia. I keep trying to push.
You're not having
all-
twins.
Well, yeah, but that would be great. That would be terrible, actually.
If you
Confirmed one. So I keep trying to push like Leia, Luke. I tried for Han, but Han Ryan doesn't sound good.
What
so.
about Williff? We were talking.
Who?
We were talking about Moff Tarkin before we started recording. Williff is a strong or Wolf.
Ooh, Wolf. Wolf would be good.
Only the most powerful people in the Empire have W first names.
I wouldn't mind being like named after a clone like if we could do Jesse, because that's unisex.
You just CT.
Yes, just do a CT number.
CT 2023.
Just call. I already got 4. Name the kid 5s. Oh my gosh,
That would
There's
be amazing.
no way. There's no way Olivia's gonna allow that.
That would be you. Okay, if you have a boy, you have to name him 5s.
Yeah.
You got to name him 5s. So, well, that's good. That's exciting. It's exciting news, and well, I know my family's very happy for you.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, but family costumes for you guys?
Yeah. So, so my son is obsessed with most things Disney these days. Although Sing, the DreamWorks film Sing, has made a recent appearance into our cycle of movies. But he's gonna go as Buzz, and the other day he
Buzz from Home Alone, or
yeah.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
Kevin's brother. Yeah, definitely.
Because you're Kevin, right?
The aftershave and all. No, Buzz Lightyear from the original Toy Story, not the Chris Evans Lightyear setup.
yeah.
You know.
Did you see that?
I have only gotten like 20 minutes in, so I got to the first hyperspace jump, and I haven't watched since then because it's kind of a heavy theme for a kid to watch, I think. But anyway, so he's gonna be Buzz, and the other day he asked Kara if she was gonna be Jessie. She goes, I wasn't planning on it, and then he's like, Dad, you're gonna be Woody, right? Yep. So
Wasn't planning on it.
so 2 onesies later, and man, do those costumes?
They know how to get you.
They are expensive, but I'm only gonna have one kid. And if your kid comes up to you and he says, "Hey, Dad, you need to be Woody," and Mom, you're gonna be Jessie, then you go, "Yep, that's what we're gonna do."
Did you look at your wife and just say, "I've got Woody right here for you"?
Jeez. Not in front of the kid.
Well, not in front of the
Not
kid.
in front of the kid, but that's a good one. You know what? I wish I was as creative as you.
That's not that creative. That's kind of
no,
dark and twisted, but whatever.
Nevertheless, so yeah, we'll tonight was their trunk or treat at school, which we forewent that as opposed to forego that, but we'll walk around the neighborhood on Monday, so
Should be fun.
it'll be good. Hopefully the rain stays away. So
That's the hope.
Yeah, the onesie. I tried it on the other night. It's a little snug in spots. Adults
In the right spots.
adult men were not meant to wear onesies. Just
No, they're not. No, there's never enough
that
inseam
is
space.
not. Yeah, no. I will just leave it at that. So, but looking forward to it. Looking forward to spending time with the family on Halloween. So, and then before you know it, it's going to be Thanksgiving and Christmas, and
Quiet time.
where has the year gone? So,
That's going crazy.
so with that, we got a lot to unpack with Andor. Should we dive right in?
Let's do it.
So a lot has happened with Andor. Since the last time we chatted, we've gotten the full Aldani arc. We've gotten the post Aldani episode, and we've gotten the first episode in what I'm going to call the Crackdown arc. So kind of like last time, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time recapping the episode. You know,
You all have seen it.
yeah, and if not,
Spoiler alert.
and go watch it. So, one of the things I want to touch on, at least with the Aldani arc, is, well, first of all, episode 6 with the actual Eye of Aldani, visually stunning. And I know there's been a lot of talk. We talked about it on the last episode about the visuals and stuff, but that sort of 5 minutes of that episode with the multicolored asteroid spectacle was visually breathtaking.
Looked great.
That's a text message.
It
right
looked
there.
great.
Keith texting us. Whoops. And that is why you silence your phones, ladies and gentlemen. At least I have a Star Wars themed ringtone as my text tone.
It fits you very well.
It does. Just set that over there. But the lead up to Luthen bringing in Cassian, aka Clem, his assimilation into the group, the unease, the various reasons that everybody's fighting. There's a lot to unpack from a mentality standpoint. So I don't know about how you thought going into these those particular episodes. You've got Taramyn, who's a former stormtrooper, Cinta, whose family was killed by a bunch of stormtroopers, Gorn, who's the Imperial sort of spy, I guess like the insider, who, from context clues, was married to an Aldani woman, so he has ties to the area and has a reason to fight back against the garrison. And then Nemik, who is the young...
He's a philosophizer.
He is the upstart. And then Skeen, right? And then who's, I don't know, well, he likes to think that him and Cassian are very similar. And then Vel's the quote-unquote leader of the group. So everyone kind of has their role, kind of, has their, I guess, reasons for participating. And I think I want to start with Nemik in that, his view on why he's fighting, right? Like, everyone has their own reasons for fighting or claimed reasons. And he has such a, him and his manifesto, right? And I think, he is a representation of fanaticism on the other side, right? Like, we look at the Empire and the fanaticism with the Empire and, bad, right? Like, that's just the general consensus, right? Well, there's also fanaticism with the rebellion too, right? We've talked about it in past episodes about how in war there's no good side and bad side per se. There's just winners and losers. And then the winners write the history. And, the rebels aren't exactly squeaky clean people. And I think Nemik is kind of like that initial sort of radicalization on the rebellion side.
Yeah, I think this is jumping ahead a bit, but you start to see Luthen come out even against Mon Mothma as she's talking about how risky it's getting to do things. And he's like, well, you can't hide forever. Mm-hmm. And we have to do things. And this is how we have to get their attention. And this is how it's going to have to happen. And it's a very extreme point of view on what he expects needs to happen in order to unite people. And as you're kind of going into now, everyone's kind of fighting for their own causes for different reasons. He's trying to give everybody one reason. So,
and that's to hate the Empire,
exactly.
Right? Like, basically, we need to push them so far that they oppress everyone to the point that they want to resist, right? So it's an ends justify the means view of things. And
we heard it multiple times from Mon Mothma, like, people are going to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yep, and that's the point. Because if they don't suffer, then they become complacent. Like, this is Luthen's view, right? If they're not made to suffer, then they don't feel the need to fight back. And we kind of talked about that during our preview episode. There has to be a motive, right? Like, what's pushing the rebellion to fight? And we talked about this is peak Empire. Why are people going to resist? Unless they're given a reason. Their lives are crap. They can't eat. They can't find food. They can't find work. Basically their standard of living is so bad that there's nothing to do but fight back. That's where they have to get to. And it sounds like that's Luthen's plan and has been his plan. In a way, he's gone rogue, or maybe he's not rogue. Maybe he's always been like that, but Mon Mothma is maybe wasn't prepared to have it happen like that. She probably wanted it more clean, I guess.
Yeah, she wanted like a more, I guess you call it organic rebellion to happen. Like, I want people to come fight for us because they believe in us, not because they're suffering and they just want to beat the Empire. Like, they believe in what their system is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just not gonna. It's not. Well, we already know it's not how it goes. So,
well,
for her,
and I mean, revolutions, they don't happen like that, And you get that exchange after Aldhani. So that was episode 7, right? Before the dinner party, which it's taken like 4 episodes to get. Well, I guess they've had 2 dinner parties now, but
it's all about parties on Coruscant.
it seems that way. And but in their interchange during or after the Aldhani raid, when she realizes that it's him, like you said, how she gets so upset with him. And he's like, I don't know what you thought was going to happen. Because if you think back to any sort of rebellion revolution, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, people were pushed to their limits and saw no other way out. Now, the American Revolution is a little bit different. I think the American Revolution is much more representative of kind of what you're seeing in Andor, in that you have some who want to fight, others who are perfectly fine with the status quo because it suits them. That's what you're seeing on Coruscant, right? Where Perrin, who is the husband that everybody hates because he's not supportive of his wife, and he just, she's not even supported in her own home, right? Like, they don't see her fight as being, to help others, the charitable stuff. She gets talked down to by her own daughter, which, when that happened, I was thinking to myself, man, if that was me, I would not have handled it with such grace.
My parents would not have handled it at all.
So, but you're going to have those groups who don't see anything wrong with what's going on, because either 1, it suits them, or 2, it doesn't affect them like directly. And you get some of the senators in episode 8 talking about that when they're in their little round table. Some are like, this is overreach, persecution, not persecution, but like, punishment without any sort of due course. And other senators are like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then
nothing to worry about.
Exactly, nothing to worry about. And then Mothma's like, well, what is wrong, right? What is defined as wrong? And so you start getting into stuff like, if you want to look at real world politics, look at what's going on in Hong Kong with the crackdowns in and around China, in China, against dissent and stuff like that. Look at any sort of authoritarian regime and the way that they crack down on dissent, what they deem as dissent. Look at what's going on with Russian media and the war in Ukraine, the special military operation, as they call it. I mean, it's all the way that those sorts of regimes crack down on dissent and define wrong, right? Like, you could be perfectly fine one day, say the wrong thing, and then you're thrown in jail the next, and there's no due course about it. So there's a lot of striking parallels to geopolitics today in this show.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this episode's going to be a lot of talk about that kind of stuff as we get further into the episode and get to Tales of the Jedi and everything else. Like, the answer of what is right or what is wrong is very subjective. And it, like you said at the beginning, the top of the discussion was the winners write the history. So that's it. So, but yeah. Did you want to move through the rest of the
so
the rebels there? I mean, because they're a little more gritty. I mean, this is like bare bones rebel operation. I mean, they did not like that Clem showed up when he did. For those of you playing along at home, that's Cassian again. just a reminder. Because it was so late in the game. They didn't feel like he was going to be prepared. They thought it was a waste. But Luthen knew they needed another person. And I think Luthen knew they needed another person because Luthen knew that there was going to be issues somewhere down the road. So, and Cassian would do the right thing.
And they needed a pilot, right?
That's right.
And they learned, or they figured out during the planning that the freighter that they were going to load all the stuff onto, they're asking him, how would you calculate the weight based off, to take off? And they go, he's like, you don't know how to fly it. That's why. So he was the pilot, right? Because without him, it's never getting in the air. But that whole, it's not there is no training montage, but it had a very, it had a very like Soviet feel to it. Like a Cold War feel to it. And I feel like a lot of the show has a very Cold War feel to it. And you just alluded to it, the politics behind things. And so apologies if that's not to your liking, but that is kind of what this show is set up to be. It's a spy thriller that's kind of meant to echo that period in history, and it does a really good job of it, both of the costuming and, well, the fact that, as people have talked about before, the firearms are actually AK-40s. Like they look like Kalashnikovs. So,
yeah, the cheapest rifles they could find,
but reliable.
Very reliable.
Very reliable. They will work in the mud and the muck, and it's a perfect rebellion firearm. But you have those 3 episodes. Well, the 2 episodes leading up to the actual heist, I guess. There is so much discussion between the characters. Again, going back to what are they fighting for? What are the reasonings for being there? Skeen, like I said, he doesn't try to relate, and then eventually he gets all upset with him because he realizes he's a hired hand because he finds the Kyber crystal or the Kyber shard or whatever. And Cassian basically calls them all out, like, listen, if you're too afraid, don't do it, but don't blame me, right? And after the heist, you get the flip from Skeen, and I was not expecting that, outside of the medical tent, which I remember during the trailer, everyone was like, "Oh, is that Cal? Is that Cal?" No, it's Nemec. And during the heist, there was I felt like an actual sense of tension. Not necessarily, I mean, we know that Cassian has to make it right, but like we talked about, nobody else is safe, and the lead up to that with the Imperial officers and how they were treating the indigenous culture that they're subjugating. There's a lot to unpack in how this show's been written, and the social commentary that it's portraying through the lens of Star Wars. And I love it. Like I watch these episodes, and it's the first Star Wars show that really makes you think. And I personally like shows like that. I know others don't, and that's fine. It's probably why it's got such low viewership. I'm kind of rambling here, but do you like shows that make you think?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
do you, like for you as a viewer, do you like something that makes you like have to pay attention, have to focus when you're watching?
I mean, it's the same thing that you go back to for like when Game of Thrones first came out, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's so hard to follow," and blah blah blah. I'm like, do you just not think about different characters and how they're reacting to the same news that each character is getting at the same time? Because I do, but now I get to see what they're doing instead of wondering. I wonder how they're doing that. So, yeah, and Andor does make you think. I mean, and it relates to a lot in the real world, unfortunately. I mean, there's many regimes around the world that either are currently treating people or have treated people the way that the Empire treats not just the Aldanis, but every system has those people. As we've seen in numerous other shows, when the Empire comes in, it's all about them. Mm-hmm. They do not care what you owned, had, where you go, what you do, unless it's in service to them.
Right. And then conversely, you have what's going on the Imperial side during this arc, right? So we get our first look at the ISB, Major Partagaz, Deidre Miro, and then you've got some side characters like Blevins, who's in charge of Ferrix and Morlana.
Ferrix, yeah.
He's in charge of Morlana, in the Morlana sector. And Cyril, poor Cyril. Poor Cyril. I mean, I do feel, it's funny because when we talked last, I called him a brown noser,
mm-hmm.
and I mean, he still kind of is. But after seeing what his home life is like, oh, poor Cyril. Just the amount of abuse he takes from his mother.
What do you think I should be looking like, Mom?
Oh my goodness.
Your collar's too high.
Like if I lived in that house, I would run as far away from it as possible. Like I understand why he was out like as far away from there as he could possibly get. But yeah, you get to see I guess the brains of the Empire, like how they like from an intelligence perspective, right?
There's pure levels of data being collected.
Yeah, and you get certainly the infighting with the desire to climb ladders and stuff like that. But Deidre is a more controlled, a less emotional. Well, I shouldn't say less emotional. She seems more composed compared to how Cyril was. I feel like Cyril is like the rookie version, and Deidre's like the veteran version of the same person, of like the same mentality. People who
she's figured out how to play the game.
Correct. And she's I mean, she's still feeling her way out, right? But she has a clear-cut view of how order should be in a very similar way that Cyril does probably too. But she goes about it more, she's much more cunning. And, you kind of get that during the interrogation or the interrogation in episode 8, when she's asking him to look through the report and stuff like that. And he's like, I could be a good asset. And effectively, she just basically discards him, right? Like, don't make me come back because I'm not going to be the one talking to you next time. And I think that says a lot about her character too. Like, she's a use and dispose type. She'll use somebody to get the info she wants, and then you're gone. Which is cunning.
The Empire.
It's cunning. It's ruthless, and it's the Empire. And so we were talking before, like, as a villain, she is, and she's like one of those calculated villains. Kind of like if you got more of old Willow, if you got more Tarkin, in the lead up to where we see him in Rogue One, about how, and how he just kind of takes control like that. I don't know. That sort of calculating antagonist is, I enjoy that kind of character.
Well, yeah, even that whole council that we get to witness. I mean, the preciseness of the Empire and how they go about things. It's very, very strict, very, very direct. And I mean, you have to be at the top of your game every single moment you're in that position. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. And if you fall behind, you get cut off. So it's a very interesting dynamic in that room.
Yeah, you were talking about Game of Thrones and Partagaz being, and for some reason I can't think of who he played. Wasn't he he was the like
he came in, he was the
like
second maester that came
the maester
through.
Yeah, he was the maester for Cersei, right? And I feel it's weird. I feel like it's the same role, right? Because he's like, he's maybe more at the forefront here, but he's still just as ruthless, still just as cunning. And I guess if you were born to play a role like he's the perfect Imperial a-hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was it, episode 4, when they're talking about Scarif and deferring funds and stuff, and they're talking about what their role is, and he said they're like they're a healthcare or they're not a healthcare provider, but we're in the business of like sickness or something. We find we find what's causing the sickness and we deal with it. We treat the disease basically, and that's what they view insubordination or this rebel uprising or anything like that. They'll treat it as a disease and deal with it accordingly. So the ISB and Deidre uncovering more and more about. She's starting to piece it together, right? She's like Charlie Day, and
she's got
It's Always Sunny.
The conspiracy. She's got the whole conspiracy theory mapped out in her room, and she's connected a lot of dots among many different systems. And at this point, now she's taking back control of Ferrick's investigation because, Blevins wasn't doing it.
Well, and we're at the point now where they've identified a person of interest, right? Which is Luthen. They call him Axis. And that's what, Deidre's trying to get out of Cyril. And at the end of episode 8, we see the crackdown, starting, right, where they're getting a hold of Pac, and Bix, because they were running the tower game, right, the tower defense, and so.
Because they drilled down, right? That's what they said.
Yeah, they were going to drill down, and basically unearth. And meanwhile, circling back to the crew from Aldhani, right? Everyone's out to basically tie up loose ends, and one of the loose ends is Andor. So you've got Vel and Cinta hanging out in Ferrix, although Vel not so much anymore, hunting Cassian. So, it gets to who can you trust? Like, if you're part of this group, right, part of this rebellion, like, who can you trust? Can you trust Clea, right? Luthen's hired hand.
I feel like he trusts her.
I mean, who is trustworthy? Like, I don't know how they gauge that in this group, because Mothma can't really trust Luthen. I mean, she trusts him enough, but clearly after what's happened, there's a level of distrust there. You got Clea talking with Vel, like, hush hush, really awkwardly, about going and tying up the loose ends. And obviously within the group that did the Aldhani job, Skeen was not trustworthy. So, I don't even know how they get to the point where the rebellion actually stays together, right? So I'm really looking forward to whatever that catalyst is. And I'm thinking it's got to come by the end of the season, right? Because the next season is, 1 year, or, years 4 through up to Rogue One, right? So This is 1 year, and that's the thing. This is all happening over 1 year. So I can't wait to see what that catalyst is.
Yeah, and you see it already still. Excuse me.
Do you need some water?
No. So we've seen it already in Rogue One when they all came together and Jyn was explaining what had to happen. And you had a couple people are like, we have to do this. She's right. Let's go. And everyone else is like, no trust. Like, I don't trust her. She could be leading us to a trap. Like, there's always going to be that mistrust and just the denial that someone's telling the truth. Especially when it's, in that case, unbelievable.
I just had a light bulb moment and realized that situation with Jyn is a more modernized version of what Cassian went through. So
yeah,
they had the exact same, like, she was brought in to help them. Why should Cassian?
Brand new.
So Cassian was Skeen, like, he was the Skeen. Oh my God. He was the Skeen because he was going to shoot Galen, right? And oh my God, I just put that together. I don't know. Maybe that was something I should have figured out.
You didn't see that parallel already?
I didn't.
No?
I didn't.
Okay.
See, I'm not. My brain doesn't work as well as yours sometimes.
I mean, you did say you like to think about things, so I give you more to think about now.
My brain is a puddle of mush this
week. I mean,
week,
he did during Rogue One. Cassian was very clear with Jyn that you think I haven't been through these things. I've been through it all, and I mean that's part of his backstory. So,
thanks. I just had the aha moment, and I feel dumb.
Yes. Now the wheels are turning. Anyway.
Yeah, I took us off track. Sorry.
But through all the everything else in the show, like the dinner parties, the political dealings from Mon Mothma is almost just a pure front at this point, trying to get leverage to talk to people that she needs to talk to about stuff, just as cover. That way, it's not suspicious that she keeps talking to the same people. And I mean, smooth for her. I mean, I think her husband's catching on to something, though.
Yeah, the what is it? I show you the stone in my hand, you miss the knife at your throat. I learned that from Palpatine. And she's talking with her childhood friend, Ty. I think his name is Ty. Yeah, the old childhood friend who happens to be a banker in control of her family's money.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I like how she's like, can I trust you with this? And he's like, is it political? She's like, yeah, maybe not so much because some of us don't like the Empire. Oh, well, actually.
Now I trust you more.
You are the actual person I want to talk to. So that's funny. But yeah, you see that Perrin, I think, is starting to catch on in episode 8, which, I think he's the husband that everybody... from far away, he reminds me of Colin. He looks like Colin Farrell. Does he not look like Colin Farrell with a man bun?
Maybe a little bit.
A little bit. Obviously, he doesn't talk like it. He doesn't talk like it.
Yeah, but yeah, a little bit. I can see it.
I mean, he's walking around his like Shishido robe, like he's
I feel like he's just made the new reel though for TikTok and Instagram when he's like, "Can't you just have fun?" Like, or isn't it? Or does everything have to be awful or something like that?
Yeah. Well, and I think I made a parallel or connection, but his appearance reminds me a lot of like in Japanese like culture, like the robes and the I don't know if it's like a kimono or what that sort of dress is for higher echelon people within the old Japanese empire. But like if you look at the way that their apartment is decorated, there's some definite Oriental vibes with like kind of some of the feng shui stuff. So again, I think it's if there's a parallel there, it's another really good nugget or little Easter egg. And maybe we'll talk some Easter eggs in Lutheran shop, but a little Easter egg to kind of the like the bourgeoisie class in an imperial society, specifically in that case, a Japanese society, where you have again the serfs or pick a name for the working class, and then you have your elite class, and being that Star Wars has its ties with Japanese samurai films, that wouldn't be a surprise if that's the way they went with that particular setup.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know. So the last bit is, you get Cassian going back to Ferrix, trying to get Marva to come with him, and he realizes that she's going nowhere. She's a rebel. He has to understand that he doesn't understand that. You can see her heartbreak almost in that moment. The emotion in that scene where she's explaining that she can't leave. And
he just wants to disappear.
Right, because he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand it. He runs away to, what was it called? Niamos?
Like a beautiful planet.
Yeah.
Sit on the beach.
I think that was filmed. I think I saw somebody say that was filmed on Canary Wharf in London, which is apparently near where Celebration's going to be in April. So, because I think they're supposed to be, I don't know if the Thames runs by there or if it's a different waterway, but nevertheless, you get the shore troopers, and you get the the PORD, which is the new legislation they put in place, enforced, and Cassian's sentence going from 6 months to 6 years, and being transferred to, was it Narkina? Thank you. I think you get genuine fear, like he's afraid. I think maybe for the first time in a long time. So, did you like Andy Serkis? I love Andy Serkis.
I love Andy Serkis. I think everything he's in, it's just so good. Man, he plays it so well. He's like, "You're mine now."
I got 240 days left.
Yeah,
you will not get in the way of that. But from far away, I saw him turn. He turns around in the scene. I'm like, it's Snoke. So he gets out and then he becomes Snoke. That's how that works. That's the chain of events. Is he gets out and then they put him in the cloning program and he becomes Snoke. So that's how that works.
I knew it.
Snoke confirmed. Got it. Yeah. So the penal colony, mass incarceration, right?
Yeah.
Another social commentary there.
Forced labor.
Minor offenses.
You know what I like is they charge you at your own cell. Did you see that? Didn't it say that's your credit?
No, that's your tab. So how many days? How many days you have left to serve?
Oh, I thought that was your. When he said tab, I thought like.
That's what I thought first too, but it's because he's got 6 years, which is 2,190 days.
That's what it was.
And the screen reads 2189, like that first scene, and then I think it drops when he's the 30 days in or 30 shifts. I call them shifts.
In my head, they went up. Sorry,
but that's shifts, right?
Yeah.
Work shifts.
Yeah, 12-hour days.
You're in
every
jail
day.
At your job, right? Like how many people feel imprisoned in their job, right? They go to work simply because they have to, right? Again, just the way that this show is written.
Here's your food. It sucks.
But you can have as much of it as you want.
Yeah, because they want you to be happy.
Healthy and fueled. What do they? Yeah, healthy and fueled. If you come in first, you get flavor and taste. and it's. I feel like we could do a whole episode just on the social parallels and the political commentary from just these 5 episodes alone. But you look at what was it? Our buddy Keith was talking about. He was having some PTSD from like lean daily, lean management stuff.
Yep.
And we're actually going through that at my job right now. And we were talking before we started recording about rates and how many you're getting done in this 40 minutes. And I don't know, 2 months ago at my job, I was put in charge of putting together something that would track people's rates. And I'm like, oh my God, it's me. It's my job, You're like, man, is that, it changes your perspective on things, right? Like, so people who are foremans, or work in manufacturing, right? And that is what you run to. You run to a certain rate. If you don't hit your rate, you don't get zapped. You don't get taser shocked to the floor, right? But you get reprimanded.
Yep, in some way.
Yeah. So I'm curious. You brought up. I'm curious what they're building. What do you think they're building? I think I told you what I thought.
I know. I would agree with you. I think it is parts for the Death Star. I think it's parts for for a lot of the either those or they're just building stuff for Star Destroyers and stuff like that. Like they are building stuff for ships.
It was weird because they're all X's, right? So it's almost like
the X's are spirals.
Well, maybe they're probably like interconnecting. Like it's probably like Lego Technic, right? Like if you're going to build a Lego Technic Death Star, they're basically just putting. That's effectively what they were doing, right? Like put the round peg into the round hole, and then wrench it tight,
and laser it together,
and then drill it and lift it off the stand. So, but that scene. That's
what it is. They're building Legos. They are actually way smaller than what we think they are. And they are building our Legos.
They're in the Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Well but want to do other things well too. What is this? A center for ants? Nope, this is actually Narkina 5. But what? Speaking of what was going on with those whirlpools? Did you notice that around the edges of the platforms where the ships were coming into? Because it's out in the middle of the water, right?
No, I must have missed that.
There were like at the corner of the. What are they, hexagons, I think it was?
I'll have to go look at that again.
They had these massive whirlpools.
I'll have to look at that.
But I don't know if that planet is meant to be cold because I couldn't tell if those were ice shelves or not. That's not really necessary for the story or anything like that unless they're trying to do something with climate change. And, they've done they pretty much touched on everything else, so why not do that? But that whole prison sequence... The music, we talked about it in the last episode.
Oh yeah.
The synthesized, like it almost felt like an '80s, like I feel like I've heard it like in Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's very just industrial. It was a. They're doing great with it. The music's great.
Well, and we talked about it during the trailer kind of discussion about the feeling with THX 11.
Which one?
Oh, gosh, it's the THX 1138. The movie that George Lucas made, where before he made American Graffiti, and the fact that I can't remember what the name of it is going to kill me. Anyways, it's like a dystopian. It kind of takes place in like a dystopian future, and they're all in white jumpsuits trying to escape things, and it kind of reinforced that feeling for me. Watching it, having listened to the soundtrack that accompanied it. But you can definitely see the wheels turning in Cassian's head. One, how am I going to get out? Which the trailer, I guess, kind of ruined that to some extent. But you can see the fire burning in him and a reason to fight back, right? Because he gets arrested for literally doing nothing.
Yeah, he legitimately was doing nothing this time.
And it just so happens he was on a hot planet and it was sweating. If that's... I would be thrown in jail within 3 seconds of stepping outside in a Missouri summer. I walk outside, I start sweating instantly, guilty, throw him in jail. I'm doomed.
Like your best bet is just to walk outside naked because no one else is walking outside naked, so that guy's clearly not breaking the law.
I'm just going to go live in Alaska where it doesn't apparently get hot. But but you talk about the fire burning in Cassian's belly, and the last sort of thing we get before we go back to Ferrix is Saw. We get our first sort of...
We do get Saw.
We get Saw, and... Again, so well acted by Forrest Whitaker, unsurprisingly. Man is a legend. and Luthen trying to convince him to work with this other group whom he doesn't share ideologies with. And, I have clarity of purpose, right? My views are right. Everybody else's is wrong. The ends to my means, like, how,
It's very much classic Saw.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows what he needs to say. I mean, the part's done well. And Luthen is, trying to forcibly point out maybe where his weaknesses are.
Mm-hmm.
And also, he's going to need financial backing eventually.
Yeah, and he's trying to bribe him with, obviously, the spare parts and stuff like that. And so, well, clearly we get some sort of visit back this season, because we know that there's that one scene, that one interjection for the rebellion, let's call it war, right? And so we'll see again what triggers that. But, we're 8 episodes in, and I mean, before I guess we wrap it, is there anything else you want to add over these last 5 episodes? No. All right.
No. Do we? Well, because so far it's been 3 episode arcs.
Except for 7. 7 was kind of, apparently it's supposed to be its own standalone, like post-Aldani, pre-crackdown. It's supposed to be like a standalone. Apparently. I don't know if that's true or not. But
so I guess we'll see some more plotting next episode.
Mm-hmm. So.
And then a 2-part finale, right? That's 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, because this was 8, so we'll hit 9 and 10. So maybe 3 and then 2. So we're 8 episodes in. Where does it rank for you on for the live action shows so far?
So for live action shows, it hurts me so much, but I'm gonna have to put it ahead of Boba. Without Mando, Boba would not have gone very far for me.
Sure.
Which is unfortunate, as you know how I feel about him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Jeez. Because of my love for the story of Obi-Wan, it's still higher than Andor. I do really enjoy Andor, but it's gonna go Mando, Obi, and then Andor.
So Mando 1 and 2, like you're gonna combine.
Yeah,
those?
I'll just combine it. I mean, that's really tough too. Yeah, I still think I would put it above. Yeah,
Kenobi.
Yeah, it's hard to split them up too.
Sure,
it's just hard to split.
Well, they are so well intertwined. I mean, you've got season 2, which is Luke, right?
Yeah.
And so
there's so many good moments in both of them. So, and then for me, like with Obi-Wan, like my whole thing there is it could have been a movie, and they could have eliminated the Reva storyline and made it a movie, and it would have been fantastic watching Vader get that. I mean, one of the Inquisitors could have had the lead on Obi-Wan, and then we could have got everything else, Anakin and Obi-Wan, and spent an hour and a half to 2 hours in a theater watching that, and it would have been a fantastic side story for Star Wars. But I still love the series.
Yeah.
So it's still third for me.
Gotcha.
I'm not missing any. I'm not missing any.
No, just Mando, Bob, Obi-Wan, Andor.
You?
Well, I made the outlandish claim that it was my favorite Star Wars show so far, like live action, and having watched the last 5 episodes,
Still there.
And for me, the reason why is because I feel like the writing in this is the strongest it has been across all of them so far, and the acting has been really strong. Like, I don't feel like there's been a ton of weak points from an acting perspective. The story is good. It's what I like is it's not. I love Mando, but the thing for me is it's a point-to-point quest, right? Like it's a connect the dots basically.
Yep.
Whereas this has a lot more jumping around. There's not like a fluid line, right? And everything's centered around Grogu, which it's great for merchandise. It kind of detracts from the story for me. Doesn't mean it's bad. Obi-Wan, again, loved it. I loved the fights. I liked the back half of it, with the I feel like the writing and the acting, not that the acting was bad, but I feel like it really like sold it with the redemption and Obi-Wan's coming back. Book of Boba, I'm there with you. It is definitely bottom of the barrel for me. But I think that as a total package, it doesn't rely on any of the classic tropes to sell me on Star Wars, which a lot of people, and that's the biggest criticism, is for a lot of people, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. But I've said it a number of times before, and I will say it again. This is Star Wars for everyone who isn't a Jedi, basically, right? This is what the average person living in the galaxy is experiencing at this time. And it doesn't get much more Star Wars than that, because there is no rebellion without
these people.
Throw Cassian out. Like he's a bit part at this point. Like there are so many other players, right? There's no Luke. Well, sorry, there is a Luke, obviously, but there's.
I can tell you how it happens.
Right. I think we learned that in health class once. Come back to that Woody joke earlier. But again, for me, as someone who enjoys cerebral content, I don't know. This hits differently for me, and for that reason, I'm loving it.
I hope it speeds up a little bit. That's my only thing. It's a little slow. It doesn't make you think, which I enjoy, but I just want a little bit more. Like we really only had a couple minutes of action, except for the old Donnie job. Like outside of that, really, you're only getting just a few blips, and then we're back to
a lot of dialogue, a lot of world building.
But it's very good. It's very good, and I do love that jumping, like you said, jumping from point to point. Outside of the movies, we didn't do a whole lot of that. Book of Boba did that a little bit more than some other of the shows, but really, like, we are really getting the full world spectrum.
Well, we've already visited 6. So Ferrix, Morlana, Sigro, Narcana, Niamos, Coruscant.
Narcana 5.
Well, that was, yeah. I think we've already visited 6 or 7 planets, different locations, which is awesome. Which is great. It gives you that expanse. You're right. It is a little bit slow. I think that catalyst is coming, and then with the second season being 4 to Rogue One,
it's gonna speed up.
I think it's gonna speed up real fast. So
absolutely.
So
looking forward to it.
Yes. So with that, we'll wrap our Andor discussion and pivot into Tales of the Jedi. Do you want to take this one? Do you want to lead this one off?
Mom.
Since I
Mom is
rambled.
what your notes say. Upside down, that is. Oh, there it is. Wow. World of Warcraft. Amazing. That's not Star Wars.
Dooku is amazing.
Dooku is amazing.
That's my notes. That's my notes for this segment.
Oh, man. Shoot. Where to start here? Congrats, Filoni. Man, does he know how to make some excellent animation, excellent writing. There was plot holes filled, not just holes, just gaps, filled that while some of us knew were coming in certain ways, we got to see it and, really love it. I guess I'll start with this. Dooku as a Jedi is exactly what you expect, and when you see it, while it's happening, it's even better. Qui-Gon as Padawan. It's amazing how wise he is at such a young age. I don't know how you want to break this all down. So, Tales of the Jedi is built around 2 main characters. Well, obviously other characters are there, and we learn a lot about them. But one of them is 3 episodes are basically built around Dooku, and 3 are around Ahsoka, and their journey to get where they kind of were when we catch up to them when we last saw them in either live action or Clone Wars. So
or Rebels.
And Rebels, yeah, that's right. Well, yeah,
Because
Clone Wars and then Rebels,
the
yeah.
Ahsoka arc, I think, ends with her
with Bail coming back.
With Bail.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like it's one of those things that it's animation shorts too. It's not even full episode. I mean, truly, it's not even full episodes. I think it's an hour and like 30, or probably not even that. Probably an hour and 20 runtime total for the entire 6 episodes. You're talking about quick hits between 11 and 15 minutes of actual time outside of credits.
Yeah, not including the credits, yeah.
And the messages that they send in each episode and the messages that they or the details they give you in the background from each one are just amazing. I don't know if you want to go episode by episode real quick and just kind of like give a quick synopsis and about your favorite parts, or what do you, I mean, we talked about this very briefly before we started because we were both like, wow on the sheet there.
Wow. Insert Owen Wilson, wow.
Yeah. It just blew me away for just watching them. It blew me away.
I was surprised that the way that they split them, right? So, starting with the Ahsoka episode, then doing the 3 Dooku in a row. But I guess they're doing it chronologically, because what happens in the second and third Ahsoka episodes takes place after
the Dooku line.
After the Dooku stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's why they broke it up like that. And the initial Ahsoka episode, I wasn't sure where they were going to go with it, aside from to establish Ahsoka as a Jedi. I liked the connection, the mother-daughter like connection, which so Pavti was voiced by Eden Versio, the woman who voiced Eden Versio.
Oh yeah.
So a little fun little nugget there, but the maternal instinct to protect your child, the strength, sort of the where Ahsoka gets her fighting spirit from, obviously gets it from her mother. The unwavering calm in front of the saber-toothed cat was like, my 1-year-old, when he would sit on the ground, he would just randomly start to throw a fit. And you're going to tell me that this infant is that calm? I mean, I understand you being Jedi and all, but that was
she figured it out.
That was kind of funny. But getting to riding back into town on that was adorable.
I think it was interesting because this scene was kind of broken down by Dave at Celebration, and he talked about it's weird how children have he talked about the whole scene and how, was it Ahsoka actually using the Force to calm the beast, or did the beast realize that this thing was not threatening me and that it was a friend? And in Star Wars, I'm going to say she was using the Force. Mm-hmm. Get out of here, Filoni. Whatever. Keep making good Star Wars stuff. But in this case, it was definitely the Force. But also there was a calmness of, I'm not a threat to you, versus us in the wild. Mm-hmm. As men, if we come across an apex predator in the wild, I am going to put up a spear or a gun or whatever I need to do to defend myself, because I am fearful of said animal. So that's going to take a threat. We're not going to have a fun time. I'm probably going to die. It's all good. Mm-hmm. And also, as Filoni said, this doesn't mean you go up to apex predators and boop them on the nose. So thank you for that, Dave. But showing kindness outward at all times will generally get you a better response from people that come in contact with you. But in this case, it was the Force.
Right. Well, the calming presence of a child. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think like it, and I know that there were people who saw I think it was this and maybe the second one, but maybe it's just the first episode at Celebration during the Tales of the Jedi panel. But yeah, I didn't think of it through that lens.
Yeah, it's an interesting
but
one.
A good episode nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it was the weakest episode, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it was good and it was a great message behind it. Also, so.
Well, and the message, life and death, comes back in the training episode with her and Anakin later on.
Well, yeah, and yeah, her mother. I mean, this goes way deep into things, but like her mother told her right away, like, you shouldn't fear death. It's a natural part of life, and this is the exact same lesson that Yoda tries to teach Anakin. A little too late, unfortunately, but yeah, and who knows how much Ahsoka took of that lesson from her mother compared to everything else that she learned, but yeah, it was definitely too late for Anakin. Right.
And so then you get into the Dooku arc, the first one with, a young Dooku and a Padawan Qui-Gon. It's the first glimpse maybe not the first glimpse, but maybe the first realization that the Republic isn't necessarily all that great and that there are pockets of corruption. It's interesting because I feel like this was meant to allow us to sympathize with Dooku's sort of trajectory to becoming sort of the separatist leader and not seeing him so much as a quote unquote bad guy, but that he was trying to do what he thought was the only way to snuff out corruption within the Republic, which is interesting.
Force choke them all.
That was intense. Like, I mean, they don't teach that like Jedi don't learn that, right? Like that's a dark side. That is a dark side tactic, right? Because it's an aggressive, it's an offensive move.
I mean, I imagine that, but at the same time, just knowing what I know about Count Dooku and in his background and dueling and everything else, he would use anything at his disposal to win a duel. And that goes without saying, like learning things that may not be taught traditionally anymore. But let's face it, every Jedi probably knows how to do that.
Right. Probably doesn't take a whole lot of thought.
No, it's probably just, I need to change my focus into one area.
Yeah, and the way that he, Qui-Gon tries to stop him, and he's just like, just throws him back against the barn door. And it's interesting too to get the character dynamics between the old senator and his young son, right? The old guard and the new guard seeing what's wrong, and the old guard being blind to it. Well,
it's blind because,
corruption.
There's a lot of other complicated things that happen behind the scenes. I can't just make a decision like this because, these guys over here got this kind of money and these guys got that kind of money and
politics.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting, it goes kind of back to that right and wrong discussion we were talking about earlier, where the younger generation has a better grasp on what's right and wrong because they're not being bought or persuaded in a certain way. They're doing what they truly believe is right and wrong. And as a child, you exercise that muscle in your brain a lot.
You question, right? Because you don't know not to.
Right.
And you're like, well, I get it from my 3-year-old every day. Why? Even if you give them the answer that is true and there's like no other, well, no, it's not that, it's this. Well, and you're going to get that, right? And,
there's so many movies that have done the exact same thing, right? Where either the parent or the child goes to the parent and says, but if you do that, this will happen, and we don't do that to people. And then you just see the parent look at their kid and break down because they're like, you're right, do the right thing, because they're not thinking do the right thing. They're thinking of self-preservation or whatever else the situation calls for.
Right. So after that, then we get the Dooku Windu episode, which is great because it fills in some of, like you said, not like plot holes or anything, but like the gapping in their discussion. both in the Pataki Arena and Attack of the Clones. I'm sorry, old friend, right? And
I hate Mace Windu. I'm just kidding.
well, what's interesting though is, at the beginning of Attack of the Clones, Windu says, he was once a Jedi. He wouldn't. It's not in his character, right, to like assassinate anyone. And he's like, did he forget about what they did on Raxus? Which was funny because I wonder if they stole some of the existing shots from the Bad Batch when they went to Raxus, because it looked like almost the same kind of flying into that wooded area. Pretty sure the senators were wearing the same exact sort of purple garb. But anyways, if they did, cool. Why do the same thing twice? But it was beautiful the first time. It's beautiful the second time. But what we were talking about before we started recording, the exchange between Dooku and Mace, like, your adherence to the rules is both inspiring and maddening. And like that made me chuckle, not just because of the way it was exchanged, but like you think about that in your normal life, right? Like everyone has that friend. I'm probably that friend actually, who likes to follow the rules and is like the rainy cloud. I am the rain cloud. I am nicknamed the rain cloud at work because I am I guess you can call me the pessimist, but the rule follower, right?
Very strict to the rules. Always have been.
Yeah. And
it's okay.
I always ruin the fun for some.
It's inspiring. Yet maddening.
Yet maddening. But then we go on a nice little detective, case of dead Jedi.
Yeah. I think it's interesting on this because it's very much we get that cold Mace, like, we have orders.
Protocol. And Dooku's like, to hell with protocol.
And you know who that reminds me of so much? Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan to a T.
And Qui-Gon, right? So Qui-Gon is Dooku, and Obi-Wan is, hey, we need to stick to the rules. And Qui-Gon's like,
hey, we're not supposed to pick up anybody here.
Poor Anakin. But you're right. You're you said it, the coldness of Mace, and he's just there to retrieve his colleague and leave, right? And Dooku asks him, if it were you, wouldn't you want her to, and he goes, no, I want her to follow protocol. Dude, what? And yeah, he ends up with a seat on the council, but at what cost? And we see it in the Clone Wars, right? Mace is he's the chiseled jaw of the Jedi Council, and he rubs everyone the wrong way. That's why Ahsoka leaves, right? That's why Ahsoka leaves.
Yeah, her trial was not set up for her because it was him.
Exactly. So
there was zero understanding. There was no gray area.
Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's suitable that he's in both their stories, right? Like, and so then the third episode, the Sith Lord with Dooku was
got hurt.
It was. It was great. I interacting with Jocasta Nu in the temple, or in the archives, which I guess is in the temple. Going back, erasing the entry on Sifo-Dyas, which is interesting because we know that it was Dooku who sent people to kill Sifo-Dyas. So that's even more like, it hurts, right? And that's all happening at the same time as the Phantom Menace. So, and then we get Yaddle, voiced by Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard, yeah.
And as soon as he took off and started flying through that industrial part, I was like, he's going to go to the same place. He's going to go meet Palpatine. And sure enough, well, I guess he's Sidious at this point. But the fact that it's Ian McDiarmid doing the voice, I was like, yes. And the conflict in Dooku during the fight with Yaddle, you can see the struggle with him. Like, and it's a testament to the animation, right? Like, because it's not an actor, but there's so much pain in his decision,
but he's also angry about stuff.
He's trying.
He just came off Qui-Gon dying.
Exactly.
So
and
you caught me at the wrong time, girl.
and she, she knows she's, well, I don't know if she knows she's overpowered, but you can tell that she wasn't prepped for that. Like, well, I don't know if you can be prepared for that, but
she also didn't want to fight him.
Correct.
Like, ultimately, she was in the middle of trying to turn him back.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. And he thinks he thinks he's doing the only thing he can to protect or to save the Republic, that, or maybe not even the Republic, but the society as he sees it. Now, again, is that the right thing? Is that the wrong thing? It's history is written by the winners. And it's even more interesting now that it's Yoda who meets him in the same place. No, not the same place. Sorry,
it's in a hangar.
It's a similar setting.
Yeah, it's a hangar. Yeah.
I was not expecting the door play. Was not expecting the door play from Dooku, but that whole episode, that arc, I want a Dooku series.
Yeah,
I would love a 8-episode Dooku run, from like him recruiting Jango to be the clone person. The clone.
It would be so good.
Like
the donor.
The donor. Thank you.
Yeah.
But like pulling in some of the comic stuff,
I loved how his lightsaber was blue.
Yes.
Went back to the comics, so they didn't go a different color.
Mm-hmm. Did you see? Oh no, that's the next episode. Jumping ahead there. But he's, he had the curved hilts, and maybe that was already known. That probably was already known. I'm just so behind on the comics.
Well, the curved hilt too is based on his fighting style.
Makashi.
It allows him to do more powerful overhead strikes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he gets better leverage.
Thrusting.
Well, thrusting also, but the overhead strikes you can get both.
Sure.
And it's got a handle to rip it forward, so it creates more. There's leverage there.
Yes.
It's something with physics and mechanics.
Is there a weight? Well, that would imply that there's weight to a lightsaber at the tip.
Oh, that's very true. But
let's get one episode.
We'll just break down a lightsaber.
We're gonna have
physics.
to go into the physics of lightsabers one episode. I'm already doing breakdowns of what light speed is for actual ships. So
to be continued.
That's to be continued. So.
Yeah, but it's very, very interesting. I mean, he was a fantastic duelist. So as soon as they start, I mean, who's going to win, obviously, because one guy has plot armor, and the other one had to disappear. Which is interesting because some people are upset because previously in the comics, Yaddle died saving a whole planet or a whole city or something like that by catching basically a bomb and absorbing the energy, but dying in the process.
Sure.
So some people were upset about that.
Well, they kind of cheapen that if that's,
At the same time, this makes sense. She was trying to help somebody that she looked at as a peer friend. I mean, obviously she was on the council, but still.
Well, and it works as his turn. Like, as in like, what was the thing that completed his turn to the dark side, I guess, and that would be well, it was obviously it because we get the dialogue after that. So, yeah, the Dooku arc was fantastic. I want a series. Corey Burton as Dooku, wonderfully voice acted. So then you get the last two Ahsoka episodes, the training montage. Gotta have a montage. So, but did you notice young Caleb with Deepa Billaba in the training room?
I must have missed that.
Caleb Doom sitting off on the side with Deepa Billaba during Ahsoka's initial training in the dojo
when she rocked it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anakin was
just like, "Oh,
nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody cares.
Uh-huh.
Everybody does it. Yeah, I know. That's why it doesn't matter."
So having Matt Lanter and Ashley Eckstein doing
so great.
It's so good again. It's funny though because he's named Darth Vader in the credits.
Oh really?
But he's Anakin. So, bit of foreshadowing, but the way that they transitioned that whole training scene into that last those last 10 minutes of Clone Wars season 7, I was just like,
Yeah.
I actually just got goosebumps.
It's very
not thinking about that.
I mean, it's very poetic, the fact that Anakin saved Ahsoka's life without knowing why, because she was so adamant. I'm never going to be fighting against these guys. Like, droids are no match for me here. And well, get better.
I feel like in my headcanon, he had a dream, but he didn't see what what the situation was.
Oh.
He only saw
A lightsaber or her, but surrounded by,
like, just being surrounded and being blasted at, but like didn't know where it was coming from.
yeah. But you see the exact same moves. It's like the exact same sequence, basically, of her trying to get away from the 501st, the 332nd at that time.
Right. Yeah. Her
battalion.
her troopers. Yeah. And you get the last. Let's hope this training pays off as they go into the hangar full of, and you get D. Bradley Baker back as Rex, and it's so good.
Which that line makes everything so much better. Now.
I need to go. I mean, I'm sure it's said, like it's actually said.
I assume that's what it is.
I should have gone back and watched that last episode to see if it's actually there, but I'm sure it is. And then the last one, you get kind of a Jedi Fallen Order feel, because she has to save somebody, and then you have the Empire sympathizer, the Imperial sympathizer, who thinks he's going to get paid off because he helps find the Jedi.
We know how they get paid off.
Did. Just ask that senator in the Bad Batch, right? Yeah, he helped the Imperials, and boom. Headshot. I was impressed with I was impressed with the duel, or I guess I don't even know if I'd call it a duel because she didn't have a saber, but it was very Obi-Wan Maul, like twin sons, like just short and sweet, doon, yoink, and then his head deflated like he had a balloon for a face.
Yeah, I didn't really know about that.
That was kind of weird.
He looks so good though. The sixth brother looks so good.
Is that
Yeah,
who it is?
Sixth
Okay.
brother, yeah. Looked very good. Like, I just love it. Like, it reminded me so much of the Vader versus Reva fight.
Yep.
Except, and I was waiting for Ahsoka to use the Force instead of using a blade, and she didn't. She just dodged everything and then grabbed his own saber. I'm like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing!
And then just in one strike, just it was just so fluid, and we get the end scene with her calling him Bail, because that episode opens at Padme's funeral. With the shock troopers, who must be the dumbest
Yes.
people. Like, who's he
pick up on
talking?
it, yeah.
Who's he talking to?
You're not talking to me. I don't know this guy.
So
I don't have your number.
Yeah, I hope you call me anytime. So yeah, and then we get her entrance into I guess Fulcrum.
That'd be Fulcrum and Rebels,
and then parlays into Rebels. So short and sweet Tales of the Jedi. I hope they do more.
Oh yes.
But overall, I guess out of 10, what would you give the series as a whole?
20. Fantastic. This is Star Wars. Like, a lot of people give Disney a lot of crap when they do something wrong, and it can be the tiniest thing that they do wrong, and people call it out. Guess what, guys? This is fantastic. Like, this is, fantastic.
I hope Disney recognizes. I saw somebody tweet this, or maybe it was on Facebook. I don't remember, but I hope Disney recognizes that it's not just kids who love the animation. Like, this is for adults.
Yeah.
Give us more. Obviously we get the Bad Batch, which is great, but give us more animated stories. You can do so much more in animation than.
Well, it's timeless. Like, you can have that same character show up in 30 years, but it looks the same because it's animation.
Correct.
One of the things I think that's really good timing right now is we're right in the middle of a live action show. You launched something that takes live action characters and animates them, because people have now met. If they didn't know Ahsoka before, they know her now because they watched Mandalorian. Right. But they may not have they may have known who she was, but they've never seen her because they didn't watch animation. And then if they know Dooku's in the episodes, they know him well enough to go, oh, I want to know more about him. And so this might actually create a nice connection for those fans that have been hesitant about going into animation. And the stories in this particular set are amazing. So if you don't know anything about Ahsoka, you get to learn what she did and then how she got to where she ended. And then...
And it doesn't spoil anything.
It doesn't really spoil anything.
Anything.
Yeah. And then for Dooku, you get to see kind of where he began and then how he fell.
Yeah, and if you can convince people to go back and watch Clone Wars and get all that content with both of them, it's almost like a, hey, new people, new fans,
Yeah.
come over here and watch the old the old animation, which some of it won't have aged well, but the stories and everything is still excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna give it an 11 out of 10. This one
Not quite as high.
This one goes to 11.
That's not quite as high.
I know.
I don't know if
The 20 out of 10. Remember, I'm the rain cloud. So, but who would you want to see in future, like future short series?
Well, see, at this point now, I want to go more Mace.
Okay.
I know where he's at, but I
Yeah.
want to know how he got that attitude towards things.
Okay.
Because something had to happen somewhere in that man's life that pushed him. Like, he had to break a rule, and something had to happen, like, poorly for him. Either to him, his master, somebody he loved, possibly, like, something. And then he's like, I will always do this. So I want to see that background. And then, to be fair, I actually want a Tales of the Sith.
Yes. That would be amazing.
Line up Maul.
Well, you could do
We got him a lot already, but like Maul or go deeper, like go all the way back to like Plagueis, Bane, Revan,
Malik.
Sidious. Like, how did he fall? We can see him training under Plagueis.
I hope we get some of that in Acolyte.
Yeah.
I hope we do get some of that. But yes, the animation for like, if you did like Bane and Korban and the Rule of Two and the Jedi Sith War, oh my goodness, that would be amazing in animation. It would look so good.
Yeah. So I'm
Please give me some of that. And I hope Disney, I already said that. I hope they recognize and invest.
Yeah.
I saw some, that was the comment. It said, I hope Chapek, which I hope Chapek goes away, but which he's only in charge of. Thought he was only in charge of the parks.
Disney parks.
I thought he was only in charge of the parks. I think that person has it confused.
Yeah,
but
Chapek's only parks.
pretty sure it's just Kathleen Kennedy who runs Lucasfilm. So, and others, of course. But I mean, everyone has for a while called for Dave to take the reins, and I think Star Wars from a handling perspective, for directors or in creative minds, is in really good hands. If they're just allowed to do what they're good at, there's going to be a lot of good stuff to come. Speaking of which, did you see that there's going to be a new movie directed by, I guess, one of the Ms. Marvel directors that's going to take place after Episode 9? Did you see that?
I saw a rumor about it. I
Yeah.
did not see it confirmed.
Yeah.
Is it confirmed?
Apparently it's going to happen, yeah. Like IGN was running with it and stuff like that too. So not a ton of details, but I did see that come through. I think that was earlier this week. I think that was on Monday.
Could be good if it's away from the storyline we just left.
Well, it did say that it would contain characters from past stories. So,
So Chewie.
Yeah, Chewie. Chewie's that character that'll never die because like they can be like 900 years old. I think he's still pretty young from a Wookiee perspective. But yeah, for Tales of the Jedi, I mean, it's universally praised right now. I think it has 100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Like the critic review is 100, and like the user review is like 99. I have not heard a single bad thing about it yet. So,
Yeah.
which I don't know anyone who could nitpick the show other than, like you said, maybe that first episode being a little slower,
Yeah.
out of not even out of place, just compared to the others, it's
different.
It's different.
Yeah.
So, but excellent nonetheless. So, anything else regarding Tales of the Jedi?
Was there any other Jedi that you wanted to see? Sorry,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you went on the Sith rampage, but
We did, yeah, because of the. I mean, I would agree with that. I'd love to see that. I would like to see more. I want more Qui-Gon and Dooku like together, like going around, palling around the galaxy together, because I want more of.
Like you want to see them as we saw Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars.
Yes, because I mean, you get a taste of what morphed his mind into his view of thinking, right? So I want more of that. I want more examples of that, right? He got his first taste of it in that second episode, but I want more of that. And I love that Liam Neeson was brought back to voice Elder Qui-Gon. If I had to pick one...
His son voiced younger Qui-Gon.
Was that who it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Excellent.
Pretty crazy stuff.
I like that. As far as maybe one other I would like to see... I mean, having read the Obi-Wan comics, like, not that we haven't had plenty of Obi-Wan already, don't get me wrong, but I'm sure similar to Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, there would be a really good parallel there, because you would have a transfer of thoughts between the two, and maybe we could get that play in, you know, Mace being, or Obi-Wan being similar to Mace, and hey, we need to follow the rules. Where does that tie in? Like young Obi-Wan, like Padawan Obi-Wan would be cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, especially after having read the comics. So, all right, with that, we're going to close with a new segment that we're going to try. See what people think. Still working on the name, but I think we like Bits of Spice.
Bits of Spice.
So this is going to be kind of like a quick hitter segment to end our episodes, where it'll be like a top 5, top 10. In this case, I've got like 20 some odd things, but
I think we're just gonna read 10.
Yeah, basically we're just gonna. I'm gonna have you guess, sort of. So tonight's Bits of Spice is Star Wars ships and what they cost.
Oh my gosh.
and so to make it fun, to try and make it fun, I've compared, like, I've classed them into fighter ships, capital ships, and then the Death Star, because everything's compared against the Death Star. So that's gotta be the most. So why don't you guess how much the Death Star is apparently, like, how much it costs to build a Death Star?
I've never seen somebody buy a ship.
Well, just give a guess, and then we'll go from there.
I don't know, 55 billion.
Wow, you are only off by 945 billion. It's 1 trillion, apparently. 1 trillion credits.
Jeez.
I don't even know what a trillion looks like. Well, I mean, I do from a number sense. It's 12 zeros, but so let's look at the fighters real quick. So let's start with the Slave One. That's the cheapest ship.
No.
Yes. So not the modified version of the Fire Spray, but the Fire Spray class patrol ship. I'm going to tell you it's 5 figures. How much do you think it is?
It's going to be 63,000.
If this price is right, you win. It's $80,000.
Oh, jeez.
Or 80,000 credits. But the modified version, so the Slave One, is 125,650. So they added 45,000, probably just in the hyperdrive alone. Because
is that how much hyperdrives cost in Star Wars
couldn't
universe?
Find that, actually. Honestly, I tried to find it, because how much do you think the Millennium Falcon costs?
Well, that's a basic cargo freighter.
That's
so
what is the YT-1300 light freighter?
I'm gonna go with 185,000.
100,000.
Oh wow,
super cheap.
That's cheap.
So
how did it outrun all that crap?
Well, that's the thing, right? So
the engine upgrades.
It comes with a Class 2 hyperdrive like standard, and Han put on a 0.5, so something that's 4 times faster than a traditional freighter. So, but then we get into our standard fighters, which we're familiar with from from prequels, originals, and sequels. So you got your T-65 X-Wing coming in at 150,000 credits, old Luke's. Now for Poe's upgraded X-Wing and Force Awakens,
185.
200,000 credits.
He spent way too much on that. The single booster killed it. That's what it was.
And then just to throw in a prequel one, you got the Soulless one, which is a Bell Bulab 22 Starfighter. I want to know where they came up with these names. But the Soulless one, 168,000 credits. You look at the A-Wings, 175 and 190,000, respectively, for the Rebellion version and the Resistance version.
inflation.
The old N1 Starfighter. Now, I couldn't find anything in canon, on the canon wiki page for this, but there is something in Legends. How much do you think the N1 Starfighter goes for?
It's a classy ship. I'm going to go with 240,000.
Pretty close. 200,000. Again, according to Legends. And then you've got the last Jedi, or the last style of Jedi Starfighter, the ETA-2, coming in at 290,000.
Jedi had a lot of coin.
So now we're going to get into some of the more expensive ships. The old J-Type 327 Nubian. Nubian. How much you think the Nubian go for?
450.
1.365 million.
Of course. Oh my gosh.
It's classified as a space yacht on Wikipedia.
Well, if you would have said space yacht, I would have gone with $1 million.
So, and I tried to find Padme's skiff, the skiff she flies in Attack of the Clones, but I couldn't find a price for it. But I'd imagine it's around the same amount. How much do you think it costs to build a CR-90 Corvette Rebel blockade runner? I.e. the Tantive 4.
I know what you're talking about. I'm thinking...
Again, we're going in ascending order.
Yeah,
so we're getting
I'm
more and
thinking
more
it's going to be 2.2.
That's probably a used one, my friend, because it costs $3.5 million. And then the last one, before we get into capital ships, the Nebulon B frigate. Our old medical frigate.
A lot of fancy stuff on that one. The last one was 3.5.
That was 3.5.
Might as well go 5.
8.5.
Oh my god. Well,
so now we're gonna get. So we'll wrap our bits of spice here with talking a bit about capital ships. So I've got the Trade Federation capital ship, which is the Lucra Hulk battleship. I've got the Negotiator, which is a Venator class Star Destroyer. The Invisible Hand, the Imperial 1 class destroyer, so the Executrix. The MC-80 Home 1 cruiser, which turns out is also it's called like a freighter, and the Executor. So this is the order. So
the Executrix was Tarkin's, and then
the Executor
was Vader's, right?
Correct. So the Trade Federation capital ship, 40 million credits.
40 million? Dang.
Followed closely behind by the Venator class Star Destroyer at 59 million.
Wow.
And now we start getting into 9 figures. The Invisible Hand was never sold, but it's apparently valued at 125 million credits. The Imperial Class 1 Destroyer and the Home 1 both come in at 150 million. And I'm going to give you a guess on what the Executor cost.
The Executor?
Mm-hmm. So Vader's capital ship.
Sign me up for... What was the last one at?
150 million.
The Executor
it's quite a jump. It's a big jump. It's a huge jump.
I was going to say 750 million, but now you got me thinking that I need to go into the billions.
It's a huge jump.
So 1.5 billion?
325 billion credits. So it cost 2.5 Executors to build the Death Star. So, because the Death Star is again valued at least, this was at least 1 trillion.
The Executors are that large that they're
yeah,
2 of them for a Death Star.
So just a fun little, what's it cost? I don't know what it cost in inflation. Like it's probably at least triple the price now with inflation, but
that's insane.
Yeah, so little bits of spice for your everyday life.
We're gonna figure that out.
Yeah, we'll work on the name. That wasn't all that, Lori Beth Dimberg.
It was very well done.
Vital
though.
information.
Very well done, though.
Thank you. Well, as we come to a close on tonight's episode, we want to thank you again for listening. We also ask that if you do enjoy the content, please like and subscribe to the cast if not already. And if you're feeling especially spicy, you could even leave us a review. It really does help out, and it's totally free. Also, if you're feeling extra generous and could share the episode through your social channels, we would be beyond appreciative. Be sure to follow us on our various social channels, which you can find in the show notes. And lastly, be sure to check out our friends over at the Galactic Dads podcast, who do an excellent job covering the latest news and notes from the world of comics, movies, TV, and gaming. And they can be found at Galactic Dads on all the social channels. So with that, for Jedi John, I'm Obi Sean, and until next time.
May the Force be with you.
Force.